World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Jana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
To learn more about us, go to worldfinancialgroup.com.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
She was told that she couldn't play with the boys. She was told that they were too big, too rough, too strong. She was told to give up her dreams and move on. She was told to just be pretty, be quiet, be a lady. She was told that women had to stay on their side of the court, stay in your lane. Playing and competing with men was insane. She was told that men and women would never be equal. Dreaming like that would only be linked to your mind, to your soul. She never listened. She knew that their thinking was old. She is magic. She is the definition of spirit. She is what champions are made of. She is now.
Well, greetings and welcome to Access Wealth Nation with Dr. Jana B. Woodhouse, giving you that checkup from the neck up, making sure that you are on your financial journey. Of course, we're broadcast through Soul City Broadcasting Network and also through WHCR 90.3, the voice of Harlem. And I am Dr. Jana B. Woodhouse. And we are going to talk about some serious things. Of course, this is Financial Literacy Month. Now, what does that mean? That means that we need to get our true financial literacy on target. We take care of everything else. We take care of the weddings, the graduations, the baby births. We need to get the money in order. And to do so, I am spending the rest of this month focusing in on financial literacy. We have an event this evening, also in every month coming this year, on bringing financial literacy to 100 women. If you're interested in hearing about that, contact us at our office at 646-375-2121. It is part of the Wealth Wave Women. We are focused as financial educators to bring financial literacy to women because it is so necessary. In addition to that, of course, if you'd like to get the How Money Works, this is the beginning section of it. How Money Works, Stop Being a Sucker. If you'd like to get a version of the book, all you have to do is send me an email at Anaj Enterprises, that's ANAJ Enterprises Inc. @gmail.com. And we'll be glad to just make sure that you send us your address. Very important aspect. Easy book to read, but need to get the book. So to do so, you have to send the address and we will send it to you. If you prefer that you get one of our ebooks, we do have a couple of ebooks that are different type of caliber and stories. It's Change Your Literacy, Change Your Life. That's an ebook. Then you can just email us. Of course, you can also get any information at some of our sites, Anaj Enterprises Inc., or at Jana B. And I got that wrong. Please forgive me. It's wealthwave.com/Jana B. And it is a full site focused in on financial literacy and its components. If as though you know you need to have a plan, if you don't want to plan to fail. So if you'd like to have a financial, what we call discovery call, where you can learn about where you are and where you'd like to be. Therefore, you just call our office at 646-375-2121. And we do have associates who will be glad to assist you in that journey. This is a financial journey. So, as we talk about continuously on this show about our financial roadmap, or what we call our 7 money milestones. And in the 7 money milestones, of course, we've gone through insurance, we've gone through getting a financial planner. We've talked about insurance. We've talked about cash flow. Well, today we're going to go to the end of the 7 money milestones, and it's more so we're going to cover some of the elements of uh, estate planning and what that means and what do you need to do. It's very important in our community that we have our assets in order. And I'll give a special tribute to this show to Miss Marcelle Robinson, who has been a dear friend of the show and of me for years as I've grown up in this neighborhood, and she made her transition today. And I know her stuff was put in order. That's so important. So, that being said, I have a special guest for us whose specialty happens to be in estate planning and also business structure. And her name is Lillie Nkenchor. I pray I said that right. I'd like to welcome Lillie to the show.
Hi, Miss Jana. You said most 85% of it. You got it.
I gotta get it right. I said this is phonetics.
So good to see you. I love that color on you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm feeling this today.
Good.
Plus, I'm in my home office, which makes it a little different than when I'm in my office, or in the studio. It's interesting how our world has changed with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
It has turned into a world of where we don't sit with each other anymore.
I know.
I'm going to try, though. I'm going to see if I can do a live event. I don't know. I'm going to draw you in. We can do a live event where we can sit with people, and talk with them and have that one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if that's a task. But thank you so much for coming on board. I wanted to have you here a long time.
I know. All this responsibility called toddler. He hijacked my schedule, Miss Jana. He really does.
He did. He's precious.
But he's delicious. It's okay.
Yes, that's it. It's just a yummy.
Yes,
I have everyone who has an excuse as the yummies. I say, look, the prince and the princesses come in. They are here.
Yes.
And bless their souls, because our world has changed so much.
Oh my goodness.
And I was talking to a client of mine, and I was discussing taxes because, of course, we've just sort of ended tax season. We've imagined that we have ended tax season. But I was talking to her, and she says, but I didn't have to do all of this before. And I said, that's true. And I don't know why I have to sign all these papers. And I said, because that's the rules are called for it these days, And why? And she says, this was not how it was in years ago. And I said, I got it. It's not the way, but okay, we don't play music on a record player anymore either.
Maybe she does. And that's why it
before I opened my mouth, But I said, there's different world. We got cars that park themselves,
Mm-hmm.
So chill. But anyway, so so what I would love for you to do is to just tell people about who you are and what you really do to service our community. Because one thing that has intrigued me since I've met you is the fact that you have the same love I have for our community and helping them. Not an easy task, but it is, but necessary. But
Absolutely.
yes. So if you'd be so kind as to tell them a little bit about you.
Wonderful. Well, hello, everyone out there. My name is Lillie Nkenchor, and there's a lot to me. I definitely am leaning into the fact that I am a multifaceted human being. But as it relates to our time together, I practice estate and business planning law. So I focus on creating an estate plan for you while you're alive. You have people and assets that matter to you, and you want to put instructions around them. So I'll help you with estate planning. Estate administration is the second area I focus on, meaning someone has passed away and now it's time to engage in the distribution of their assets, the winding down of their estate, the paying of their debts, and then ultimately the closing of their estate. All of those tasks fall under estate administration.
Mm-hmm.
My third focus area, Jana, is business planning. A good chunk of my business owners, excuse me, a good chunk of my estate planning clients are business owners. So you might come to me for your will or your trust or power of attorney. But if I learn that you have a car body shop repair, a tech company, a theater, a restaurant, I'm not going to ignore that. Let's talk about your business because that is the biggest part of your estate right now. So I focus on those three areas: estate planning, estate administration, and business planning. And we're doing this work in 5 states: New York, New Jersey, DC, Maryland, and Georgia.
That is perfect. And it's interesting that you're in those states because it seems like every time I have a situation, I'm sending them to you. And I have to first look. That's one of the differences between financial planners and attorneys. The world, which I believe at some point is going to change, but you guys have to be barred in every state
Yes,
that you work in. And that used to be the situation back in the 20s and 30s, that investment advisors and stockbrokers had to be licensed in the state. Now they just found a way to make money. So, so all they do is say, pay the fee.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, I'm definitely paying the fees in these 5 states and staying on top of my continuing legal education credits. But it's important to me to be in those cities because, I've always been an attorney, Jana, but I used to do it within the financial services industry. So I used to work
Really?
with major life insurance companies and I was responsible for a territory.
Ah,
And these states that I just listed, it's intentional that I'm there because I built connections and relationships with different types of advisors, different types of communities. And I always said, if I ever have my own thing, I want to be able to go back with the people that I enjoyed working with. So that's why I have those licenses and not like, a license in California or Massachusetts because that's not where my community is.
got you. That's so important. That's awesome. I didn't know that little tidbit about you.
Yes.
Okay, so that's good to know. That means also it makes it a lot easier. Sometimes when you speak to attorneys, they don't have any of the financial part, and
Mm,
therefore you're trying to explain before you can move forward. But this is great. Okay,
good.
so here's the story. We're at this stage in life, and we need to talk about really the estate planning. What does someone have to know before they come to you? Or what do they need to do?
That's a great question because a lot of times people feel like they need to have it buttoned up and together and perfectly coiffed before they speak to an estate planning attorney. And because they never do, they avoid the conversation. There is nothing you have to do per se. You have to have a vision. You have to have a general idea of what you want to happen to the people that you love and the assets you've accumulated. If you have that general idea, Yana, then I can carry you the rest of the way. But you
Hmm.
cannot show up and say, I heard I'm supposed to do this thing, but I don't have anybody I care about. I don't have any assets. I don't know. I don't know. Then it's going to be difficult to plan. But if you literally only say to me, I have this spouse, or I have this spouse and children, I have this home, I have these accounts, I have this land, and I just want to make sure that everyone is taken care of, you've done all you need to do.
Awesome. That makes a lot. Now, you brought up a topic that just there. I know you didn't realize that I have run into so many people in our community. They don't have anybody.
Oh my gosh. Let's talk about that, because oh my God, I sat up in my seat, everyone. Go say what you want to say, and then I'll add to
No,
that.
that's it, is that they don't know what to do. They're like, um, I'm done. They've done absolutely, like, I don't need to do anything, which I know that's not true, but they need to do. I said, well, isn't there anybody that, someone who was nice to you, good to you? you know, what, isn't there a church or a nonprofit that you care
Yes.
about?
Yeah.
Don't you want your name on the pulpit or something? I mean, what, you want somebody to remember you?
Yeah. And in my experience, what makes that even more harder, more difficult, Yana, is in order for your estate plan, which we'll get into the specifics, to work, you need to assign the responsibility to someone.
Mm.
You are no longer here. You are trusting someone to follow your written instructions, to transfer your assets to the right people, to pay your bills, to do all of these things. And what I have run into a lot more often than people would think is people don't even have people in their life who they trust
Oh
to
God, yes.
to do that. And sometimes it's like, oh, well, I've outlived my parents, I've outlived my siblings, or I have no siblings, I have no spouse, I have no children. And they can't think of anyone who they trust to do that. And estate planning essentially stalls out in that phase. So if you don't
Mm.
have someone that you want to receive, and you don't have someone who can follow your instructions to give to the person that you want to receive,
Hmm.
might as well just make your gifts during life.
Got it. Oh, okay. That's an answer,
Yeah.
because that is, I have a situation still. It's been going on since I think it was 2014, to the extent that the assets are now at the state. It's unclaimed funds, and
Yeah.
it's so sad. People don't understand that you need to designate some type of beneficiary on
Mhm.
some of these accounts. You need to find out, like you said, who do you trust? If
Yeah.
you don't trust anybody, oh my goodness, what
Yeah.
do you do? There's got to be, okay, let me ask this question though. You, as an attorney, are you ever in that fiduciary position that you would?
Um, I shifted in my seat because I thought, oh my God. Um, I have stepped into that role for in very unique situations.
Okay.
But in those cases, I'll be honest, I don't want to be your first choice. So find somebody, and then I can be the backup to whomever that person is. So
Okay.
there's one client where I'm fourth in line, and I'm very happy with that. Okay, so I'll do it under certain circumstances, but it's not my preferred method.
Position.
It's not my preferred solution because I am going to charge the estate.
Of course.
Most people, they're choosing their best friend, their spouse, their child to do all of this work for the love of them. That's not how most attorneys will operate. We will step in to do that role, to perform that role, excuse me, but we will be compensated. And sometimes I don't want to eat into the estate in that way. So it's not my first method, but I do have some clients who trust me immensely, more so than other persons in their circle. And I have stepped in to serve that
Uh,
role.
That's important, and important to know, because there's even I'll tell you, there are people who will step in that role, but they come with a fee also. Even though they're family, friends, and whatever, they're like, "Don't I get something for it?" Because it's not an easy role.
Right.
You know, you paying the bills and passing out money. You know,
Yes.
and then people
Good
want
personalities. Where's this? Where's that? What's taking so long? What are you doing? You will run into that as an
yes,
executor of someone's estate.
and it becomes a problem if it's someone, especially if they're part of the family.
Hmm.
You know, and that's one of the concerns. So my next thing is that okay, so you can serve, an attorney can serve, but they'd rather, most of them, I believe, I would like, because we do a presentation out of the How Money Works book, and it's on estates, and they talk about specifically Aretha Franklin and Prince. My understanding is that both of them, well, later on, Aretha, they found a will, but
Yes,
Prince, there was no will. And
correct.
so, what happens when you, as which I think is very selfish, you did not write anything down, did not get it done, put your affairs in order, and
Yes.
then you die and leave it for everybody else to clean up?
Well, if you pass away without instructions, then the state that you lived in will assign instructions to you, essentially. It's called passing away intestate. Intestate. Intestate means this person passed away. They did not have a will or any other type of instructions. And so we are going to apply the state ruling to their estate. And
Mm,
most states have a rule of, if you're married with no children, then everything goes to your spouse. If you're married with children, then it's a split between spouse and children. If you're not married and you have children, then everything to your children. And then we start going down the family tree. Okay, you don't have children. Do you have living parents? Do you have living siblings? Do you have living nieces and nephews? And we'll start looking for persons who are the next closest living relative, and then your assets will go to that person. It will have to go through the process and it eventually go to that person or persons. But the state is not, if you're charitably inclined and you're used to tithing, the state doesn't care about that.
mm,
It doesn't know
okay.
if your nephew has a gambling addiction. They don't care about that.
Okay.
The state doesn't know that you're estranged from your spouse.
Mm,
You're legally married, but you guys haven't lived or even had a civil conversation in 12 years. But guess what? Because you're still legally married, at least half of your estate is going to that person.
wow.
So if you don't have a plan, then the state will give you a plan.
But that's the plan. You may have people that you did not want to share your hard earnings with, and now they get it.
Yes, that's exactly right. So I tell persons, estate planning is an uncomfortable topic, Jana, because most people focus on the fact that they won't be here.
Yes.
And no one wants to talk about that time. So my job, and what I've really fallen in love with about my job, is really encouraging people to look at it from a different perspective. This is your opportunity to have an influence on the people around you. This idea of, oh, I don't want to talk about it because it means I'm going to die. That's not how any of this works, because I think about being a billionaire and that still hasn't come true.
But it's coming.
Just because you have a plan for your passing doesn't mean you're welcoming the Grim Reaper. There are
That's
a
right.
lot of people who have that real fear. So my job, and I know you're part of this community as well, is no, don't look at it as a loss. Look at this as an opportunity for you to leave, to influence. I always tell people influence. You can't control, but you can definitely influence. This is your opportunity to have your say.
Mm-hmm.
Influence. And always, always remember, it is difficult to mourn someone and then also have to manage their haphazard affairs.
Yeah.
I want to crawl up in my bed and cry for my father. I don't want to have to do that and also pull myself together to go fight at the court and go look for his pay stubs. Where is his pension? Where is this? Where is that? Make it easier for the people who love you, because it can be catastrophic in some situations.
It can be a real challenge, and that's what I tell folks. Even with life insurance, I tell folks, I don't want to talk about that I'm going to die, and I was like,
Mhm.
okay, treat this like a rainy day. When they say it's going to rain,
Right.
and you don't carry that umbrella, it
Mhm.
rains on you. But if you carry the umbrella and it doesn't rain, well, it was just one of them days, and
Right.
I tell folks, stop thinking about the negative. But I like the fact that you have a slight influence. You speak from
Mhm.
basically the grave to say, this is what I wanted to happen, and that's important. So when someone, okay, let's go to the nth degree. They go down the line, the state goes down the line.
Yes.
My question is, because I have this situation, what happens when there's nobody down the line?
Yeah, it does go to the state. It does wind up in that mysterious unclaimed funds department of your state, and it eventually belongs to the state. And I have had that happen. This person wasn't a client. They called me for a consultation to run an issue by me. And at the end of the call, I said, that man's $120,000 account
Oh,
wasn't to go to anyone. It went to the state of New York.
wow.
So, yes, if you do not have a plan and you do not have any heirs, then you are essentially turning your money over to your state's unclaimed funds department.
That is just, I'm going to say it on air. Unless you have a great love for the state of New York, you need to put somebody's name
Yes,
somewhere, because
yes.
that is so sad. I think about this. Okay, here's a statement. I currently have a will. However, I want to remove people off of it. Can I amend it, or should I just create a new will? Good question.
Great question, Miss Kathleen. You can amend your will. You don't have to redo the entire will. When we in our legal world, when we amend a will, it's called a codicil. CODICIL. A codicil means we're keeping the original document, but
Mhm.
we're going in to change a section. And the codicil will literally say Kathleen's will dated April 17th, 2005 remains the same, except for there's no longer Jane Doe, John Doe, Jimmy Doe. Sign here, and now you have a fully executed amended will. I don't think it's necessary to redo a new will unless there are a lot of changes that have taken place and it doesn't make sense. It's easier and cleaner just to start a new will, but you can absolutely amend an existing will without throwing out the old language and instructions.
Got it. Now, who should be having the copy of the will?
That is a great question. The client should always have the original will.
Okay.
Always should have the original will. Most attorneys, including myself, we do not keep the originals because over the years you have thousands of clients. Where would I store all of the paperwork? So your attorney likely has an electronic copy of your document. The client, you should have the original. I'm not a fan of photocopying wills because if you make a change and you forget that there's a photocopy somewhere, now when you pass away, there's two documents.
Oh,
A little confused as to which one is valid. You don't want to make the process more difficult than it needs to be. So I'm not a fan of making copies of wills. I'm a fan of keeping your original and then sharing with your executor. That's the person who's going to manage your will when you're no longer here. Tell them where it is. Hey, I keep all my important documents at my home office. I keep everything in my basement. I keep everything in my attic. Whatever the case may be, we need to be able to find that original document.
mhm.
That's my recommendation. You, as the client, as the person who created the will, you keep the original. Your attorney will have a copy, and an electronic copy, but I wouldn't recommend photocopying your documents.
So I guess the codicil, is that the question, George? You're asking, is it at a price?
Mr. George, everything costs. I'm sorry, friend. I have to tell you that. Yes, but it's really nominal. I say that jokingly, but it's really nominal. For instance, if you come to me, if Miss Kathleen says, I want to get rid of Jane Doe and add John Doe, we have experienced paralegals who can do that in their sleep. Their rate might be, $175 an hour, but they get it done in half an hour. So then your bill is 50% of 175. This is just a rough example. But yes, anytime you are interfacing with an attorney, unless they are telling you that it's free, expect it to cost something.
Well, time is money.
Yes.
And people have a tendency, this is what I was sitting with a client and I dropped her taxes to her in person. I took them to her and she had a bill. And she's like, well, you were coming this way anyway. I was like, I wasn't stopping at your house. Okay. And then came the equation, which floored me to this day. I'm sure my family will hear it, and they because I was shocked. She says, "Well, you liken yourself to liking an attorney." I said, "Yeah, we spend about the same time in school."
You guys respect Miss Jana. She is skilled. She is excellent. She cares about you. She is going to give you the right answer. We're not running around, and only for someone to tell you, oh, I don't know, this is not my area of expertise. We should get in the habit of compensating experts for their expertise.
I thoroughly agree. We go on the record for this because people need to hear this. All you people out there at WHCR, you hear me. Okay, my original will has gotten messed up or somewhat illegible, but I have persons with copies. Will those copies be valid in the event of my death?
Yes, Miss Kathleen, they will be. The reason I'm not a fan of copies is because when they take that to the court, there are extra hoops that they have to jump through. The judge is going to say, why is there a copy? Explain to me in this special form where the original is. How do I know this is the copy of the original and that there's no other document? I need some witnesses to come here and sign these papers. So anytime you're dealing with copies, or if someone presents the original will, but it's unstapled, all of these things give the idea of tampering. And that just slows down the process.
I definitely know exactly what you're talking about. I was the investment advisor in one of the banks here in New York, and my client needed her signature notarized. So the notary notarized it, and I signed it. She passed some years later, and we got telephone calls, even though I was nowhere near the bank that I was working. I had long gone and gone back to Wall Street. And they said, well, can you explain why there's a copy? And I was like, well, I can't explain why there's a copy, but I know that's my signature. But it was an experience. I'm glad you mentioned that because it was a process, because then the courts had to validate the will.
Yes, absolutely. So we try to avoid that by having clean originals.
So what's your take on taking things, I know you don't like the copies, but possibly putting it like in a cloud? We in this new tech world.
I know. I love having your documents stored electronically, username, password, all of that. Just remember that the judge in wherever you are is going to want the original.
No matter what.
No matter what. And you know what? In a perfect world, I would somehow be, a legislature that focuses on cleaning up our estate planning laws. Because in this digital age, we should not be requiring people to deliver, mail your original documents to this person and to that person. But quite honestly, a lot of government, certain parts of government are antiquated. So yes, no matter what county you go to in New York, the judge is going to want the original will to be mailed to the courthouse.
Okay.
You can e-file it and send it electronically and all of that to get the process going, but they will still want you to mail the will. They will want you to mail an original death certificate. They will want you to mail all of these government documents, and that's because our system has not caught up to 2025.
So what is the time frame when you have, let's say, a clean will and documentation, and then so what you have this will, you have the executor.
Yes.
So the executor, what do they have to do? Do they take this stuff to the courthouse?
Great question. So let's walk through the steps. John Doe has passed away, and he had a fabulous will created by me, of course, right?
Yeah.
So his executor is his son. So John Doe, and he has a son called Joe Jr. Joe Jr.'s job is to say, my dad has passed away. I'm very sad. It's really a blow to the family, but I'm so grateful that he planned, because now I have a roadmap that makes this easier. Joe Jr. is going to get his dad's original will. He is going to get an original death certificate.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to complete the paperwork for the county in which his dad lives. So let's say this gentleman lived in Harlem. So this is a New York County matter. So he needs to complete the petition paperwork for New York County.
Okay.
There's a filing fee. No matter where you go, which court you go to, there's a filing fee.
Okay.
And he is taking that to the New York County Surrogates Court, which is down there on Center Street somewhere.
Yes.
So we have your dad's original will, dad's death certificate, the petition that New York County wants you to complete, and the filing fee that New York County wants you to pay. You are delivering those 4 items to the county clerk.
Where do they get the form?
The form is online.
Okay.
The form, you can go to New York County Surrogate, Queen Surrogate, King Surrogate, Westchester Surrogate. All of the surrogate offices have their petitions online. There's supposed to be like a perfectly uniform petition that goes across counties, but you know.
I got you.
So Joe Jr. is taking those 4 materials, 4 items down to the surrogate court. They stamp it as received. And how long does it take for Joe Jr. to get his letters?
It's how it depends. Yeah.
Months.
Wow.
It's going to take some time. Don't let there be a fight. Don't let there be a spill on the will. Don't let it be unstapled. Don't let there be an issue where Joe is his father, but he didn't sign the birth certificate. So you have like proof anywhere that that's your father. All of those little variables will take a 6-month, 12-month case and turn it into God knows what. But assuming everything is easy, then Joe can receive his letters from the court in 6 to 12 months. And by letters, ladies and gentlemen, what I mean is it's great that John Doe had a will and he says, I give everything to my son, Joe Jr. I love him. He's the executor. He's in charge of all of this. But that does not give his son the authority to act. To get all of the paperwork that I just shared with you, the will, the death certificate, the filing fee, the petition, he needs to get all of that, give that to the court, the judge approves it, and then he receives his letters. Then he can start following the instructions in the will. Wow.
So that could also, well, what happens to George, the senior, John, whatever. What happens to like all the bills that need to be paid and all, that just has to be on hold?
Hold? You think these people are waiting for you to get your letters? You know what you need to do? You need to have a financial plan that complements your estate plan. You know what you need? You need life insurance to pay to your son directly so he has money right away to keep paying the mortgage, keep paying the property taxes, because all of these bills are still ticking as Joe Jr. is waiting for his letters from New York County Surrogates Court. It is not uncommon for homes to be foreclosed and all
Wow.
of that because the family doesn't have the money to keep the assets going, because we were hoping that we could just go through the court process real quick, get dad's money, and then use dad's money. But if dad's money is tied up for a year and you don't have money, then we've increased the risk of those assets being lost.
Well, that is an advocate for life insurance.
Absolutely.
And making sure that there are beneficiaries on the life insurance. I never did understand why people would get a life insurance policy and put a state. And I'm like,
you've defeated the entire purpose.
The
and
purpose.
You know what? I have seen financial advisors tell their clients to do that. And I always look at them like, who gave you your license?
I know. Oh my goodness.
Right.
What a terrible thing. Put some benefit. Well, that's the thing. If somebody has put beneficiaries on everything, their accounts, their bank accounts, their investment accounts, they've put only thing, they don't own any property, but they basically have beneficiaries. That can circumvent the weight for the things that they do. Because let me ask if I'm saying this right to folks.
Okay.
When you close your eyes, what's left? Okay, so what doesn't have a beneficiary on it? That's what has to be probated.
Yes, absolutely. You're correct. You're absolutely correct. So anything that allows you to name a beneficiary is considered a contract.
Okay.
Contracts do not go through the court process. They do not have to be controlled by your will. They do not have to be controlled by your trust. It goes directly to the named beneficiary. So, for example, if John Doe named his son the beneficiary of a life insurance policy, as soon as, father passes away and we can present the death certificate and all of that and prove that the son is who he is, then he gets that $1 million check and he can start taking care of financial matters. That is completely separate from the court process. The court process is handling those assets that do not pass by beneficiary or do not pass by law. Okay. If an asset does not pass by law or it does not pass by beneficiary, it's just hanging out. Okay. You don't know what to do with it.
And so by law would be the contract?
By law is a state law or a federal law that tells us what happens to an asset when the owner is no longer here. The best example is real estate. So let's say you and I own a home jointly.
Yes.
That title that's associated with our deed, that is an example of law. So if we own a property jointly and I pass away, you're the owner now, the 100% owner, no ifs, ands, or buts. You don't need to go to the court process or prove anything to anybody. That home is yours because that's how the title reads on our deed. So outside of real estate that passes to a joint owner or financial instruments that pass to a beneficiary, everything else is just hanging out. So we need your estate planning documents to tell us what to do in that event.
Kathleen asked that since in light of the recent info, should I just create a new will? Yes, go to Lillie. Since mine is all messed up. And I want to remove people off the original anyway.
I'm going to agree with Ms. Jana on this one, Ms. Kathleen.
Yeah, might as well. You got it. Lillie Nkenchor.com.
Yes.
You'll need to come. I know those that are on WHCR, y'all don't see the link. You need to go to her site. You need to see some of her videos. I got to tell you, I'm enthralled with them. When I get my little moment, that's my little, some people do Netflix. I do Lillie. I get to see a little bit of something that I can put in my head to help my clients. So yeah, y'all need to, yes, Kathleen, take the trip. But also in the case of, because I got a situation, close situation where the appointment to come. Okay.
Thank you, Miss Kathleen.
If you are in a business with someone and there's a contract explaining what happens upon the death of the partner.
Mm-hmm.
Is that at all considered also, is that a contract? Is that a
Great question. Yes, that's a contract as well. So if you and I are in business together, we own, I don't know, a flower shop, and I have a contract. We have a contract that says if Lillie dies, her 50% goes to Jana, and vice versa. Then
Mhm.
that contract is good to go and can be honored, and we can start taking steps right away after one of us
So
passes.
then you go to the court still though to get it recognized? Is that something, or you don't have to?
It kind of depends. This is a great question. It depends upon how the agreement is drafted. What you're
Mhm.
describing is what we call a buy-sell agreement.
Yes.
So a buy-sell agreement means we do have to go through the court process for that one. So let's say I pass away before you and I own 50% of this flower shop. My 50%, now that I'm no longer here, is inside of my estate.
Ah.
Well, you don't have to go to the court. You have to go to the estate. So it's inside of my estate. So
Mhm.
you are supposed to come to my estate, whether it be like my husband is representing the estate, my son is representing the estate, and say, listen, I have this contract. It's valid. It's everything. It says that when Lillie passes away, her 50% comes to me. So then
Mhm.
now you can start having negotiations with my executor so that you can, well, you don't have to negotiate. It's already played out in the document so that you can then assume or buy my 50%. So at the end of the transaction, you get my shares and my estate gets the cash.
Understood.
And so
Even though it's not stated, suppose it was just automatic. I died, we good. You don't have to give me any money. Can we do that?
You could, but we're going through the court process. Why? Because you're 50% of the flower shop. Once you're no longer here,
Mm-hmm.
I have to get it from your estate.
Ah.
I have to get it. Even if your estate is giving it to me, I have to still interact with your estate.
Okay.
And so whoever is representing your estate, I have to have conversations with them to get it. Now, if that person does not have the legal authority to represent you yet because they're still in the court process, then I have to wait for that process to be complete.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes.
That's some very heavy knowledge there.
Yes.
That's necessary because a lot of people, especially with businesses, don't have those things set up. And like you said, a buy sell, because I know I've done buy sells for clients and it's connected to their insurance because this way the surviving partner has money to give to.
Perfect, right? Because in my flower shop example, let's say my half is 500,000, and you're supposed to give my estate $500,000. But if you don't have it, my husband's not giving you 50% until you pay him. He's gonna say, we've been friends for a long time, Miss Jana, but $500,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah, that business is business.
So life insurance or other types of financial instruments that give you quick money is a great way to fund the buy sell. It's important not just to have the buy sell contract, you need to fund it. Where does the money come from to buy the shares when your co-owner passes away?
I got it. Oh, that is very valuable information I can pass on to a client of mine because I was trying to figure out. I said, well, that's nice. You just put the 50% and you're gone.
I feel like our chat is for you to get information for your clients. Is that what's happening right now, Ms. Jana?
Of course. You know how we go. We get the chat. Anything you need to know for finance, I got. Anything I need legal. I just thought about it when we were sitting here. I said, the business is one of those elements. Like many people own businesses, but they don't have it registered right, or like I just gave that example. There's there's the executor. I'm assuming in the case of a business, the executor also has to come up with how to either keep the business going or let it go.
That is a great question. That is a great comment. Yes, if we own a flower shop and or let's say just you own the flower shop and you're not here, the business now belongs to the estate. Who
Mm.
is your daughter, is your son going to keep the flower shop going? Do they know how to run the flower shop?
Wow.
Just
Yeah.
like the income that you were giving them every month. Did you train them? Do you have a key employee that can keep this going? If the answer is no, no, no to all of this, then when you are no longer here, your business essentially is no longer here either.
Oh my goodness. That has people have to really understand the business aspect of their estate also. You know,
Yes, yes, because it's not separate, right? We like to put things in silos because we think that makes us organized, but your business is your estate.
mm,
So when you're thinking about your estate plan, you should always be thinking there are people I care about and there are assets I care about. Asset could be your favorite ring, it could be your flower shop, it could be your car in the driveway, it could be your land down in Jamaica. It doesn't matter what it is. It's an asset and you care about it. So you should have a plan around it. Just to say, oh, I have a will that talks about what happens to my kids, but I have nothing that talks about what happens to my business, then you don't
mm.
have a full estate plan.
That is so important. We need to get that out to people. You know, I think it's part of one of your videos. Uh, okay, Miss Kathleen, you're going to have to set an appointment. Okay. Do I have to put my dog in the will? I want to give her to her, her godmother.
Godmother.
Does that have to be documented?
I, I'll give you the legal answer. Yes, we can put something in writing that says, "In my beloved dog, I want to go to so and so." But practically speaking,
Mm-hmm.
your will is in the court process anywhere between 3 to 12 months, depending upon which county. And I lowered it to 3 because there are some New York counties that are pretty straightforward. Like once you start getting to Westchester and upstate, those counties aren't as busy. So,
Ah,
so the process moves smoother. But when you're talking downstate, New York, Kings, Queens,
mm.
Jesus say a prayer for Queens, then you're talking a long period of time. So imagine you have this will that says, I want my dog to go to her godmother. But the will is in the court, like in the mill, in the queue. Where is your dog practically during that?
Mm.
Pract-
Dog could go hungry.
Practically speaking, he's got to go somewhere. So I know you're not going to give your dog away before you pass away, but quite honestly, that's something you should talk to the godmother about. And then she should know to come and get the dog. I will have the instructions in your will, but practically speaking, the dog needs to be cared for before your will is probated.
Yeah, because that takes too much time. That's
Mhm.
interesting. And
Yes.
Lord have mercy.
Yes.
Okay, well, our time is coming close. I want to get some.
That's it. Oh
Isn't it something? This
my God.
was fantastic. Yes, I'm going to get you in again and we talk about more, but this was so informative and I'm telling folks you need to go to http colon because I know my WHC can't see LillienKenchor.com. So you put
Yes.
that down. And if you got to play it back. You know you can. But you need to go on. But not only that, you've got to act. This
Yeah.
is the time for act. We don't know. We went through COVID and saw so many people who are still right now, still in probate. Our dear sister Aretha Franklin, they started out with an $80 million estate. It
Mm-hmm.
is now settling at somewhere around 40 million.
Mm-hmm.
Why? There was a lot of legal fees in between and court records needed to be done because first they thought it was intestate and then it turned into a will and now the verifying of the will. All of that means money. Okay. And so during COVID, we also lost Prince. That was a whole nother. They still working on that estate. They say that it's done, but I keep looking and they're like, it ain't done. Because people, and that's the other thing. If you have special needs children,
Yes.
there is a definite need for a special needs trust. As a matter of fact, tonight we're going to be talking about that on the women's, wealthwaveelite.com/1 million women take control. So if you're able to tap in, because the two areas they're talking about tonight is a woman who was married and had a wonderful life, and the husband died, and she knew nothing about their finances. Bad position.
Yeah.
Second position is the special needs child. There's a good chance you're going to definitely have a child outlive you if there's special needs, and if so, you better have some stuff in place because they need to be taken care of.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you. One thing I'd love to add in closing is don't ever let someone talk you out of estate planning. There are these myths that it doesn't apply to you. Estate planning is only for the wealthy people over there. You don't have enough. You don't make enough. I don't have anything. Estate planning is not about the value of your assets. It's only about, do you have people you care about? And do you have assets you care about? Do not get caught up in the value of the assets that you have. You have them. Do you care about them? Check. Do you have people that you care about? Check. Those are the only two elements you need. No one should be speaking to each other and saying, oh, you don't need to do that. That's dumb because you don't have a lot of money. That's not what estate planning is about. I understand why people think it's about that, because in our Western culture, we've made it about money, but it's really about care. It's only about care. If you care, then you need an estate plan. And there are levels of estate plan, right? So the plan that I would do for Oprah Winfrey would be wildly different than the plan that I would do for my parents. But both of those people deserve a plan. You don't have to be wealthy to have a plan. So I want you all to feel empowered in knowing that, yes, you've built a life, a beautiful life. You've had some victories, you've had some bruises, and all of that should come to a peaceful close. And our plans help you create peace of mind. And don't let anyone talk you out of that.
Oh, those are words of wisdom and gold, priceless. Now that you've got your charge, you need to get busy. Do not be part of the major nation in this world, procrastination. Okay? Get busy, get started, and call Lillie.
Yes.
Okay, Lillie, thank you so much.
Especially you, Miss Kathleen. If I don't hear from you tomorrow, we're not friends.
Okay. And she ain't my friend either. But definitely, thank you again. And thank you all for listening. And definitely get busy and know that you got part of your checkup from the neck up from Access Wealth Nation. Have a good night and thank you.
She was told that she couldn't play with the boys. She was told that they were too big, too rough, too strong. She was told to give up her dreams and move on. She was told to just be pretty, be quiet, be a lady. She was told that women had to stay on their side of the court, stay in your lane. Playing and competing with men was insane. She was told that men and women would never be equal. Dreaming like that would only be lethal to your mind, to your soul. She never listened. She knew that their thinking was old. She is magic. She is the definition of spirit. She is what champions are made of. She is magic.